This year's Eurovision Song Contest is being held in Malmö, Sweden. Unfortunately for Israel's representative in the competition, it also happens to be one of the most left-wing cities on earth. Which is why during Edan Golan's performance of her song Hurricane in the show's dress rehearsal on Wednesday, this happened. If you weren't clear about that noise, that was booze, okay? That wasn't well received. As Golan left the stage, there were calls of free Palestine and from the river to the sea. Now, Malmö has been, and by the way, that is how you pronounce it, has been the site of several large-scale pro-Palestine protests in the run-up to Saturday's Eurovision. That's after widespread calls for Israel to be booted from the contest over the country's war on Gaza. But Eurovision itself appears to have taken a stance on Palestine. Bambi Thug is Ireland's entry in the competition. They explained to RT Radio 1 why they had to remove a message written on their body as part of their stage makeup.
Talk to me a little bit about the Ohm writing on your face. What happened there?
Yeah, so, I was devastated that I had to take it off. But I wasn't going to be allowed on stage if I hadn't. And unfortunately, there's a bigger picture here. I have to do the performance to be able to make any impact anywhere.
Yeah. And what did it say?
Originally, it said Saoirse and Palestine, and it said ceasefire.
Okay, right.
So I had to change it to Crown the Witch.
I would be very reluctant to be heavily critical of individual artists because I feel like the broadcasters should have stepped in a long time ago, particularly Ireland, when it shows so much solidarity with Palestine anyway. We're an outlier in Europe anyway. Our national broadcaster here are weak. They have many internal problems. They largely report IDF talking points. So there's a massive difference between the media and the political class in Ireland and the people on the street. Here, if we had a stronger broadcaster, I think we could have easily pulled out of the competition. It would have been shocking and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's a singing competition, and they've included a country in the singing competition from the Middle East, by the way, that's on trial right now for genocide. I think it's absurd. It's almost absurdly humorous that they're in there at all. But what I would say about the artists, the broadcasters didn't step in, and then you've got an opportunity, the English entry, or the British entry, sorry, and the Irish entry, I'm thinking of specifically, you do have an opportunity to make a stand yourself. I mean, nobody's going to really force you to sing, I don't think. And I feel like writing messages on your face and wearing keffiyehs and all that kind of stuff, it's almost a little bit insulting, because certainly the pro-Palestine movements here in Ireland, and I know around the world, they've been quite clear, you need to listen to Palestinians, and Palestinians are quite clear that any institution whatsoever, like the Eurovision, that's attempting to kind of overlook the genocide and create a distraction from it and try to rehabilitate the genociders' image, if you will, they are asking us to boycott. So don't cross the picket line, even if you're going to make some facile gesture when you do so, I think, even the people, and I could be way off here, but even the people in the stadium booing and hissing and whatnot, why not just boycott? Just boycott the event, as Palestinians have asked us to do. And I think the idea of, I know people have said, look, we'll do the competition because we're going to unify the world through music. With the greatest of respect to them, I think a child or an adult in Gaza at the moment doesn't want to hear the idea that you think that you're going to unify the world and create peace by singing your song in the Eurovision. Come on, give us a bit of respect.
I think that's really well put, Tig. I suppose I'd have a question for you, though, which is, firstly, I agree. I mean, Israel shouldn't be there. And that's not an outlandish position, particularly because Russia was banned from participating for very similar reasons, right? It was involved in a conflict, it had broken international law and whatnot. So there's a very recent precedent, very easy to do. I suppose what somebody could say to you about the people that are going there and booing the Israeli act, they would say that we're putting a magnifying glass on what's going on. That garners more attention, and actually that's more effective than nobody who's critical of Israel attending and then performing, and sort of nobody really making it a story. I feel there is an argument, I don't agree with it, but I do feel there's an argument that actually people there jeering, booing an Israeli act at one of the biggest television events across Europe probably has something of an impact. I mean, I feel like that breaks through to tens, hundreds of millions of quote unquote normies. By the way, the story already has, but I do think it breaks through to very, very, very many people in a way that maybe a boycott in this instance wouldn't do. That's not to say I agree with it, but I think there's an argument there. What's your take on that?
That's a very fair point, to be honest, and that's why I said at the start. Look, I'm not sure what I'm talking about when it comes to the local pro-Palestine movement in Malmo, and if they've decided that it's more effective to go in there and boo, that's all very well. But if it was like random people who aren't part of a collective effort in support of Palestine going to the Eurovision and throwing in a little boo to make themselves feel better about themselves, yet they've still crossed the picket line. I suppose that's what I was getting at. But yeah, I mean, I know in the Irish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, we were very clear, and we were urging Bambi Thug to definitely boycott. I mean, my own personal view is if you had the balls to boycott, I think it would actually be a real injection into your career prospects, because the swell of support in Ireland for artists who are boycotting is immense. But I totally take your point. And if that group over there, that pro-Palestine group over there, feel the best thing to do is to get in there and make some noise, if it's effective, whatever is pro-Palestine right now, and by pro-Palestine, I just mean anti-genocide at this point, whatever is highlighting the war crimes and whatever can edge us closer to not just a ceasefire, but justice, statehood for Palestine, then that's a good thing. And I'd leave each group and each individual city to decide what works best for them. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I like the emphasis you've got there on collective action. I think that's a nice way to think about things, rather than atomizing it to the individual level. And just finally, I mean, it is very funny this is in Malmö, which is arguably the most radical city in Western Europe. You know, it's the home of the Swedish Kurdish community. I think it's administered. The local government is by the Vänsterpartiet, which is the left party, which was the party that was historically connected to the USSR. It's really left wing, okay, even by Swedish standards. And I think they're in charge of Malmö. So yes, rather amusing that's the location for this year's Eurovision, and I think it's a very good thing, because it's going to highlight one way or another, whatever tactics people are pursuing, what's going on in Gaza to a very, very large audience.